Hi, my name is Mady, and I am on a journey to lose weight and
to have a baby.
I have alluded to this story several times on my channel, and I was never nervous to make this video until recently when this other creator named Alexandra Rodriguez came out about an experience she had had at the doctor's. Now, this video is not about that. I don't want to get too derailed. I will link some reaction content, or you could just check out Alexandra's video as well. Down below, Megan Ann has a really good video about it. Obese to Beast, both really good content. But basically, to make a super long story short, she is a plus-size woman who is pregnant. She went to her gynecologist, or her OB rather, and they informed her that she was really close to the BMI level at the clinic, and she claimed the reason for that was because she is so muscular. And the lie detector test determined that is a lie. I don't mean to be unkind at all. I didn't know who she was until she put out this video, and apparently she's got a bunch of controversies, but like, no, it's not the case. And so, but it did make me think, like, am I delulu? Am I crazy? Like, is that how I sound when I talk about this situation? So yeah. A little nervous. Before we get started, I do want to lay out some caveats, and this video will be divided into sections, so feel free to skip ahead. But I do want you guys to know that regardless of what I'm about to say, the bottom line as to why I am fat, why I am obese, is because of over-consuming unhealthy food. Yeah. Having said that, to just say that would be to be viewing the picture that is my health journey in portrait mode when this is a landscape picture. If you turn that camera to the side and get the landscape version, you would see the two halves hidden on the sides. The first half being periodic hypothyroidism. I'll get into more this video. And PCOS and insulin resistance. Are those two things the reason I'm fat? No. Do those things contribute to issues with losing weight and issues with rapid weight gain? Yes. I just want to get that out there. But I just want you guys to know that I'm not delusional about why I'm fat. I know why I'm fat. I also don't want this video to be misconstrued as being part of the health at every size movement. I think they are especially delulu. I don't believe that you can be healthy at every size. I'm sorry. I don't believe that weight loss is the cure-all that doctors pretend it is. But I just don't want this video to be taken as that either. And finally, I guess just to talk about this doctor in particular, she was not condescending or rude. Women, especially plus size women, have to deal with a lot of that when we go to the doctor. You go to the doctor for anything and they'll find a reason to talk about your weight. Trisha Def, another small YouTuber, recently had a horrible experience at the doctor, and I'll link that down below too. The point is, this doctor, I will say to her credit, was not that. She was not rude or condescending for the most part. I also am not saying that she was wrong in telling me to lose weight. There were times it was frustrating for different reasons, but I just want to make that clear that I'm not saying she was wrong for saying that. I did need to lose weight. I was obese. I am 30 pounds down, and I still need to lose weight. I am still obese. I'm not even saying she was wrong. In fact, for the most part, she was right. But there were a lot of things she did that I took major issue with. Okay, last but not least, I am extremely close to this situation. This is obviously really personal, really visceral feelings come from this. So it's possible I'm too close to this situation to see the truth. I have acknowledged that. I am aware of that. Okay, now we can get into the video. So I first saw this gynecologist in March of 2022. Your girl had just gotten insurance, so I wanted to go do my exams and stuff. Ladies, make sure you are taking care of yourself. Go do your exams. I know it's annoying. Go do them. And some of my main takeaways were that she seemed nice. She was decent. I don't know. She had good people skills, good bedside manner. And I was very early into the stages of trying for a baby with my husband, with Henry. And I just kind of wanted to know, hey, where should I start? What are some things I should maybe be doing that I'm not thinking about? And of course, she told me I needed to lose weight. I will put my numbers from my health portal on the screen. I can't quite remember what I weighed at the time. It might have been 250. It might have been in the 265 range. I will put those numbers there. Either way, unhealthy. I'm 5'2". That's a lot of weight for a 5'2" frame. And so I was like, okay, yeah, makes sense. And so I did express to her, I have had some difficulty losing weight in the past. What would you advise that I do? And she said, well, you probably should be eating more vegetables. Your plate needs to be at least half vegetables, if not more. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that advice is wrong. That advice is good advice. But it just felt very generic. It felt very like whenever you ask someone, well, how should I lose weight? And they were like, well, eat less and move more. Not to mention the fact that at the time I identified as a vegetable hater. I no longer identify as that because of a YouTube video I did actually that changed my life. But at the time I'm like, great, thanks. But you know, she's not a dietitian, you know, so, you know, what do I expect? Some of the other takeaways though from the visit were she mentioned a good place to start would be to lose 10% of my body weight. And I've heard this advice before. And so I pointed out to her, I actually did that in 2020 and I didn't really see any benefits. I had 4 periods in the year of 2020, 4 out of 12. We're not batting very high here. And so I was like, and again, this is not me saying like, I don't need to lose weight. It's not going to help. That's not what I was saying at all. I was just like, okay, but just so you know, that really hasn't worked out the way you think it's worked out in the past, because my last gynecologist told me to do that. But regardless, I did kind of gently point that out. And I asked her, I was like, I've actually heard some really good things about metformin for insulin resistance. Because, fun fact, insulin resistance can inhibit weight loss for some people. And I believe I'm one of those people. And she was weirdly quite against it. She shut it down immediately. She was like, no, I don't think so. It's not a weight loss drug. It's not going to magically help you lose weight. And I never said that. But I just kind of said, okay, you know, I just kind of wanted her input on it. She's the doctor. What do I know? Finally, my last takeaway from the visit was that I got some routine lab work done and we checked out my thyroid and I noticed my numbers had been kind of climbing up. I wasn't in hypothyroidism yet, but I was getting close to it. And this has actually happened before where my thyroid levels were just trending up, and ended up in hypothyroidism before I finally got prescribed medicine. And so I'd rather not get back into hypothyroidism. And so I mentioned it to her and she basically said, well, it's high, but it's the high end of normal, but you're not in hypothyroidism. To which I responded like, yes, but here's my previous lab work when I lived in a different state where this has happened before. And last time it happened, my thyroid was hypo. So she agreed. I ended up getting on some medicine and I'm happy to say I'm not on that medicine anymore, but my thyroid is currently thriving. So good for her. Take all that with how you want to take that. That was in March of 2022. That summer, I ended up trying out Weight Watchers. And if you're like, Mady, you have a terrible relationship with diets and food. I know. That's a whole other video, though. I did Weight Watchers for the summer, and I lost 9 pounds. And, I mean, that's not bad. It's progress. But that's not even a pound a week, y'all. And I was so just downtrodden about it. I remember specifically saying to a coworker, yeah, sure, I've lost 9 pounds, but it's over the course of 3 months. That doesn't justify giving up pizza. So I went to see my primary care physician in September of 2022. And I kind of expressed my frustrations about weight loss. And she was like, well, have you considered metformin? And I told her, I was like, I did consider it, but my gynecologist kind of shut it down. She said she didn't think I'd benefit from it. And my PCP was very respectful, and she was like, I think you could benefit from it. So if you would like to get on it, we can absolutely make that happen. And if you don't like it, you can always stop. But I think you could benefit from it. This was September of 2022. By Thanksgiving, I had lost, I don't know if I had lost the 15 pounds yet, but I ended up losing 15 pounds because of metformin. And I would gain a little and lose a little, but by and large, my highest weight was 265 pounds, and I got down to 250, and I managed to stave that off. And in fact, when I started this weight loss journey this year, 2024, I was 250 pounds, which again, still obese. Don't get me wrong, still very overweight, still need to lose weight, but it was really good to see that progress. More importantly, Thanksgiving 2022, I got my first positive ovulation test. And for the next 5 or 6 months, routine periods, which was huge for me. I was very excited. So in April 2023, I went to see my gynecologist again. And I basically bragged like, yeah, the metformin's been really great. And I'm sorry if this is awkward for anyone to talk about, but this is a health and fertility channel, a weight loss and fertility channel. So, I obviously talked about, me and my husband doing the baby dance and timing everything appropriately, and nothing was still happening yet for the last 6 months. Basically, she was like, well, that's really great. That's awesome. Love to hear that. Just keep at it. It'll happen. And I'm like, no, I feel like something would have happened by now. Like, is there anything else I can or should be doing? And so, of course, she was like, well, you need to lose some weight, which I did. And so I go, okay, so weight loss takes time. What should I be doing in the meantime? What are some things we can be doing to be proactive? And we actually had a bit of a debate because she was like, well, your ovulation tests are showing positive, so it's just only a matter of time. But the issue I take with that is that ovulation tests aren't actually accurate for those with PCOS. The hormone that causes you to ovulate when you have PCOS can spike throughout the month. And so it's not necessarily accurate for everyone. In fact, it literally says so on the packaging. And I actually pointed this out to her and I said, is there any way we can test and see if I've been ovulating? And she said, well, we can get your progesterone tested every month if that's what you want to do. To which I was like, yes, I would like to do that. But I still wanted to be doing more just in case everything was positive. And so, like I said, it was just another push of like, okay, great, we're going to get my progesterone tested. What else can we do? What else could be going wrong here? And so after a little bit of pushing, she agreed we should get Henry tested, which he was fine, like get his boys tested. Again, I'm sorry if this is weird for people to hear. And all was well in that. And we also got me a saline ultrasound, which I can explain more about that in a comment or another video if anybody's curious, just to make sure that my uterus and my fallopian tubes were okay and there were no blockages. And that also went well and everything was fine with that. So I ended up getting the lab work done every month for the next 3 months. By summer of 2023, it was clear that my labs, my progesterone levels were not suggesting that I was actually ovulating, despite the tests at home saying that I was ovulating. So also during the summer of 2023, my primary care physician had suggested maybe I should try Wegovy, which I'm sure you guys know what that is. It's a GLP-1, just like Ozempic, but it's the non-diabetic version for weight loss. And I felt really weird about that. I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Partially because I would have to stop trying for a baby. You can't get pregnant if you're taking a GLP-1. So that was one of the reasons I felt weird about it. But it just, I don't know. I just felt weird about it. And so I made an appointment with my gynecologist, and I specifically thought I'll ask her what she thinks about this, since she clearly, her advice for everything is to just lose weight. I'll ask her about this. So in August of 2023, I went to see her, and this was the most candid conversation we had had. I fully expected her to say, you've proved me wrong. Let's get you on some ovulation medicine like Clomid, or I can't pronounce the other one. Let's get you on some ovulation medicine and help you ovulate. This is not what happened. Instead, she told me that there's nothing she can do for me until I lose weight. And I was like, okay, we've established that I lose weight at a pretty slow rate. What can I do in the meantime to help with my progesterone? And she responded, well, I think weight loss would help with your progesterone. And I finally asked her, because at this point I was very frustrated. This visit was not going as I expected, again, because I had approved to her that my progesterone was low. After pushing for these tests to be done, she still didn't seem to want to do anything. And so I said, I was like, what would you like me to weigh before we can start taking things more seriously? And she kind of didn't really seem to want to give an answer, which is fair. But she finally said, well, I mean, I would like you to be at a normal weight. And I'm like, okay. So for me being 5'2", a normal weight would be 130 pounds, about, give or take. That's never gonna be me. And even to this day, I maintain that that will never be me. I'll actually put a picture, if I can find one, of me whenever I was 170 pounds. And I mean, I was eating healthy. I was 20 years old, to be fair, but I was eating healthy. I was working out. I was thriving. And that honestly looks like a great ideal weight for me. I know that's still considered obese for my height, but I mean, your girl looked good and you can't tell me otherwise. But I blatantly told her, no, that's not going to happen. That is never going to be me. And she said, well, at the very least, you need to be out of the obese category. And at this point, I'm pretty sure I was 250 pounds. And so I was like, okay, so let's say out of obese category. That's 70 pounds away. And at the rate that I lose weight, that is years away. And I don't want to go off on this tangent quite yet because I feel like I can talk about this more at the end of the video. But I just turned 30. I turned 30 in 2023, which is when this conversation was taking place. And there is a feeling that I'm racing against this clock, the biological clock. I don't know. I'm racing against a clock because it only gets harder as you get older, and it's already hard. And so I feel like I'm racing against a clock between fertility and weight loss. And I know some hateful ass people will be like, well, maybe that's your fault. And yeah, sure, it is my fault, but it doesn't mean I want to give up. And it doesn't mean that I want to just accept that I won't be able to start trying for a baby until I'm 35 at this rate. But when I said to her, hey, that could be years away, she responded back and she said, well, yeah, it could be. What? And she basically said, to be honest, as a gynecologist, there's not a whole lot I can do for you. Yeah, I'm getting that vibe from you, lady. And she said, if you wanted to use the fertility clinic, you would have to lose weight to do that too. And I was like, yeah, I understand. And she's like, they have a BMI limit. And they do. I knew this. I know this. And she went on to say, because there's an ethical dilemma in helping someone who's overweight get pregnant. Hearing that just took the wind out of my sails. It snuffed my torch the way Jeff Probst be snuffing all those torches in Survivor. The doctor has spoken. And I will talk about that a little more in a minute, about the ethical dilemma in helping someone who's plus size get pregnant. But I want to talk about the weirdest part of the conversation and what really stuck the nail in her coffin for, I'm never going to see this woman again. When I mentioned that my primary care physician suggested Wegovy, and at this point, when I said this, I said, well, you know what? If it's true, if weight loss is the only way, I guess I'm going to go on this Wegovy stuff. And she was like, whoa, where's that coming from? And I said, well, my primary care physician had recommended it. If it's true, if I won't see any success until I lose weight and I feel like I'm racing against the clock, then I'm going to get on it. And if she was against the Metformin, she was adamantly against the Wegovy. I remember her saying, like, I implore you not to do it. And I was like, well, why? Like, are you afraid of the risks? Are you afraid of this? Are you afraid of that? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid I'm going to have a reaction to it? And she pointed out what I honestly thought about it too. She said, if you don't change anything and you take this medicine and you lose weight, you're just going to gain it all back. Yeah, I agree with her. Little did I know, I did not get on Wegovy. The shortage was too bad, but the FDA approved Zepbound, and I got on that in mid-December. For me, Zepbound is not a drug where I can eat whatever I want and do whatever I want. I am eating in a caloric deficit. I am working out currently basically 7 days a week, but minimum 5 days a week. I am really having to work at it, and I have seen great success with it. I've lost over 30 pounds. I'm trying to be vague because I have a workout challenge thing coming out soon, and I'll tell you guys how much weight I lost during it. But your girl has hit the 30-pound weight loss mark. But on average, over the course of me taking it, I've lost 2 pounds a week. I had to get on medication to lose weight at a rate that normal people lose weight at. Does that make sense? At the time, I didn't know. I didn't know how it was going to work. But she was adamantly against it. But the weird part of the conversation was she was like, I'm going to recommend you go to this place. And she wrote it down on a little scrap piece of paper. And I'm not going to say the name of this business because it's not a chain or anything. And I'm not trying to let y'all know what city I live in. I feel like people could figure it out, which is fine, but that doesn't mean I'm going to advertise it. But that does present a problem because I can't quite tell you what this place is because I don't know. Basically, in preparation for this video, I went to this place's website. I watched their YouTube channel where they were like, what is this business? And the best I've been able to glean from it is that it is an osteopathic medicine type place. So for those who don't know, it's essentially like our current healthcare system treats the symptoms and not the person. And osteopathic, I hope I'm saying that right, medicine suggests treating the person versus looking at the symptoms, which isn't wrong. And I'm open to that, but I still wasn't sure what this was. And I told her as much. I was like, well, what is it? And she was like, well, it's a place where they can talk about some sustainable changes that you can make. And I was like, is it a dietitian? And she was like, yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. And I was like, okay. I'm like, interesting. Is it part of the network, the insurance network? And she was like, no, they don't take insurance at all. And so you would have to do a consultation, and that would be a flat fee. And then they would kind of set you up with your visits, and you'd probably go on a payment plan. And so I kind of was like, well, if it's just a dietitian, I can go see a dietitian in network. And she was like, well, it's not just that. It's really just, you would have to go there and see it. And I have a friend who works there. So, if you go and you want to report back to me and tell me how things went, I'd be very curious to hear. Now, I don't know what this place is. And I've even tried to look up reviews of it online, and I can't find diddly squat. It's a place. It's a brick and mortar place that exists. I don't know what it is. I think it's probably a few other things, but for some reason, her being so vague with her answers and telling me her friend worked there gave me the major ick. And I guess that's the end of the story. Actually, that's not the end of the story. Hold up. So I left there knowing I wasn't going to see her again. But I kind of agonized a little bit over it and was, because obviously, is it me? Hi? Am I the problem? It's me? Partially. But am I the whole problem? And so a few months later, I was talking to someone, and I'm going to intentionally be vague because they weren't like, hey, you can put this on your YouTube channel. But I basically was talking to someone, and this person is what I would call super healthy. I would call athletic build, but not too much so, because that can be an issue with fertility too. Just a very healthy person, works out, moves their body. And I knew that she had also been having fertility issues for the past 3 years, and her husband is also healthy. And I found out that we had the same gynecologist. And so I asked, well, what's your experience been like? And she's like, well, I'm really frustrated because she's really nice, but she's like a cheerleader. She doesn't seem to want to do anything. She didn't quite say it like that. She was like, she's super nice. She's super encouraging. I was the one that used the word like a cheerleader. And she was like, yeah, but like every time I go to her, she never has anything new for me. She keeps insisting, well, you guys keep trying, like you're both perfectly healthy, so something should be happening. And she's like, and I'm frustrated. The person I'm talking to says, I'm frustrated because yes, something should be happening, but it's not. So what can we do? And I was like, oh my God, me too. I felt it in my soul. And it made me realize that even if I was this big around, this woman still probably would not help me. And I guess that's my main issue. Do I think she's fat phobic? Yeah, a little bit. I do. Do I know that she's lazy? Yes. I don't know what her deal is. Why would you go into that field if you don't want to help people have a baby? Like, what's wrong with you? Okay, it's not that serious, but kind of is. It just made me realize that I made the right decision. I will say one other thing. I know the story's been kind of crazy and I've tried to keep it concise, but one of the discussions we had when I mentioned to her, like, hey, I really have trouble losing weight, and she had mentioned the vegetables thing, in one of our later visits, I actually was having some success losing weight. And I hate to say it because it's going to sound like I'm plugging this diet, and I'm not. And again, this should be a whole other video. The diet that I have had the most success on without being on a GLP-1 is keto. And I'm not trying to hate on keto, but I'm also not an advocate for keto necessarily, unless you truly think that's how you can eat for the rest of your life. And I do think keto is really good for those with diabetes. And honestly, the reason it was probably good for me is because I have insulin resistance, but it's just not how I want to live my life. And the main problem with keto is that it fucks up my cholesterol. And so when I told her, hey, I did have some actual success with keto and losing weight, not 3 pounds a month, actually losing, closer to 2 pounds a week. I was like, but it really has messed up my cholesterol. And she was like, yeah, you don't need to be on keto. No keto. And I was like, okay. And so it was really frustrating and she was also against the Weight Watchers. I'm not saying she's wrong for that. Honestly, all these freaking diets, again, I don't want to get on another tangent, but they are not necessarily the answer. I know people find success on them, but this is not the way. These are not the diets you're looking for. I did the Star Trek thing. Why? Okay. So it just kind of almost felt like, yeah, okay, I get it. You want me to lose weight, but it's like she wanted me to lose weight her way. With no metformin. Not that I'm saying metformin's a weight loss drug, because it's not. No GLP-1, lose weight her way. And it didn't matter to her how long it would take. Just a feeling I had. My other issue with her was that I often was doing my own research and coming to her with suggestions for next steps and asking her or pushing for certain things, like getting my progesterone tested, like the metformin. I was coming to her with what should we do next? I was looking to her for answers, but I was also coming to her for answers. And I should not be doing that. I should not have to do that. And my next issue, and this is the one that's deeply personal to me. I talked earlier in the video about how she said that it was potentially it was an ethical dilemma to help a plus size person get pregnant. And I'm aware that plus size people are higher risk. Make no mistake, I'm aware of that. But at the same time, people of all shapes and sizes have healthy pregnancies. I do fear gestational diabetes, but I don't have a ton of health problems that would point to having a riskier pregnancy. Now, I will say, I guess just being plus size in general, I could have a riskier pregnancy, but I don't have a ton of issues with that. Now, you could still be like, well, maybe she's just looking out for the health of your baby and this and that. And I know that that's what people are saying and what the bottom line is. But what about my bodily autonomy? What about what I want? What about what I want to do with my body? Because no matter what, that still matters. If I got pregnant on my own, it's not like she would or could refuse to treat me, because there is no BMI limit at the gynecologist office that I go to. So that's not going to be an issue. It just was this weird feeling. And, it's ultimately why I decided to get on Zepbound. Okay, doctors aren't going to take me seriously until I lose weight. I'm going to lose weight then. But, I will come to the decision to put the fertility stuff on hold. And that was a really difficult decision for me to come to. That was a really hard decision because I did not want to. I aggressively did not want to. But ultimately, if I need the fertility clinic, I need to lose weight. Losing weight in general is obviously just going to be good for me. My frustration didn't come from the fact that I don't feel like I have to lose weight or anything like that. My frustration came from the fact that I really struggled to lose weight. And finally, a lot of people like to throw out accusations of like, you're just doctor shopping. You just want a doctor that's going to tell you what you want to hear and yada, yada, yada. And to that, I say, you should doctor shop. Now, granted, you should have a doctor that's willing to tell you no and not just somebody who's just going to do whatever you want. But specifically for a gynecologist, but also many other doctors, you are laying your life in their hands. Having a baby is a serious medical thing that you undergo. And so ultimately, having a doctor, having a gynecologist that you can trust is of the utmost importance. And I realized I couldn't trust her. I felt like if I was actually going to get pregnant and have issues during my pregnancy, she would just be like, well, it sucks to suck, that's just what you get, you dumb fat bitch. Okay, not that serious. But it did just give me the feeling overall of, I just felt like I couldn't trust her. But this video has been long enough. You guys can let me know if you think I'm delulu in the comments. That's totally fine. And definitely check out all those videos I mentioned listed down below. But other than that, I hope you guys have a good day. Like, comment, subscribe. It really helps out the growth of my channel. And I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.